going bounce except for Rocky Super Saiyan KO can on him. I'm best believe that when I'm done, they know that I ain't playing with them anymore. I'm going Kamehameha and shit. Destructiveness, I ain't the one to fuck with.
What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from SBMTG on the YouTube.com. We like magic, you know by now. Forgot my glasses at first, but here they are. And here I am, by the way. I've gotten a couple of emails just this morning that were like, "You alright, buddy? It's been a few days since you uploaded a video." Here I am, everything's fine, I'm alive. I just needed a day or two. But anyway, I'm back. And I've got a pretty good $20 deck tag for you today. It's basically a mono red aggro deck, which people love. Haven't seen one of those in a while, you know. I think it's going to be a pretty quick deck tag today, too. This is mono red Haste. Let's start with the creatures. We're playing 26 of them in the deck, and a lot of them are fairly low on the curve, so let's start with these 1-drops here. Let's play 4 copies of Bomat Courier and 4 copies of Village Messenger. These are both pretty good, just 1 mana haste 1/1 creatures. As far as Raging Goblins go, these are some of the best ones ever printed, honestly. Bomat Courier can help you draw a few more cards, which is always really good in an aggro deck, because mid-game you're going to start running out of cards. So, you know, if Bomat Courier's in trouble or whatever, just sacrifice him and then, you know, pick up a card or two. And that'll really, really help. Village Messenger is just a 1 mana 1/1 haste, Raging Goblin stats, but can get bigger and has an ability once he does transform that makes him a little bit tougher to block. So Village Messenger is pretty stock, good card. As far as the 2-drops are concerned, we're just going to play 4 copies of Speedway Fanatic, and that's it as far as 2-drop creatures. Now, it was actually a really big decision on whether or not to put Eye Wolf in the main deck. Ultimately, he made the sideboard, but not quite the main deck. Against control decks, we can side out our removal and just put in Eye Wolves as another 2-drop creature. But I like just the Speedway Fanatic and a selection of removal, because on turn 2, we're going to want to, you know, blow away one of their guys and then get in with a Bomat Courier. We're playing Galvanic Bombardment, so on turn 2, we can sometimes bombard a creature and then play either another Courier or Village Messenger and get in for some damage during the attack step. So we've got plenty of action during turn 2. I just don't know that it's worth playing a subpar card like Eye Wolves in the main deck. But Speedway Fanatic is a pretty good card. Just 2 mana for a 2-power haste is a fine deal. I just don't want to pay 2 mana for a 1-power haste. Even if we can pump it, I just don't think it's a good enough deal, but Fanatic most certainly is. As far as 3-drop creatures go, we've got a few more of those. We're going to play 4 copies of Lafnu Hellion, 4 copies of Reckless Bushwhacker, and 2 copies of Gyrereach Bandit here. Now, as far as Gyrereach Bandit goes, if you wanted to decrease the budget by about $1.50, you could always just put in Brazen Scourge instead, you know? And sometimes Brazen Scourge is better because it's got that extra point of toughness. You'd be surprised with so many Galvanic Bombardments running around. That extra point of toughness is kind of important. But, you know, Gyrereach Bandit has a little bit of extra synergy with Village Messenger once it transforms, so there is that. But if you wanted to, you could just play Scourge. Now, Lafnu Hellion is obviously a fantastic card. It's the biggest, biggest creature in the deck that doesn't cost, 4 mana. So, pretty big for just 3 mana and can stick around for a couple of turns, which is hopefully all we'll need from it. Now, Reckless Bushwhacker is probably the best creature in the deck. It has definitely seen a lot of competitive play, especially lately. Now, with so many 1-drop creatures in the deck and Galvanic Bombardment and, a couple of other things. We've got, Harness Lightning and Speedway Fanatic. So on turn, 3 or 4, we can get a really, really good swing in out of nowhere with a Reckless Bushwhacker. And it's on theme, so we might as well play it. It's just the best haste creature in the format, and maybe one of the best creatures in the format, honestly. It makes aggro the deck that it is today. So Reckless Bushwhacker, I'll say it again, best creature in the deck. Now, as far as 4-drop creatures, I am splitting a play set of 4-drops here between 2 copies of Fleetwheel Cruiser and 2 copies of Impetuous Devils. Now, I really, really like both of these cards. That's why I'm splitting a play set. Otherwise, I might just play 4 Fleetwheel Cruiser, because it has the ability to stick around. It just doesn't automatically die at the end of the turn. But Impetuous Devils can screw up blocks. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's good. It's kind of removal. You can just make a creature block it." You could do that. There's a couple of tricks there. You can make a 1 or 2 toughness creature block it, get through the max damage. You can make their biggest creature block it, kill the creature, and probably still trample over for a damage or 2. All of that's nice, but something overlooked about the card is that when you make a creature block it, you're also screwing up their blocks. Maybe they wanted that creature to block something else. So getting to screw up their blocks is actually a really, really nice part of Impetuous Devils. And it looks a little incongruous to play Reckless Bushwhacker and a bunch of 4-drops, but if Bushwhacker can't finish the game on turn 4, these often will too, in case we don't draw the Bushwhacker. So, love both of these, and Impetuous Devils is a card that doesn't see enough action. I actually think this card is kind of fantastic, especially considering we're playing Built to Smash. I mean, 5 mana, 9 damage, some of it will trample over, even if you take out the biggest creature on the other side. So I like Devils, I'm just letting you know. But we also got to play some spells in a Magic the Gathering deck. We don't have to, we don't have to, but it'd be nice, right? So let's play a little bit of removal and a little bit of pump like most aggro decks will. We're going to play 4 copies of Galvanic Bombardment and 3 copies of Harness Lightning, and that's the removal suite in the deck. Galvanic Bombardment I like because it costs so little. It's so cheap that, you know, on turn 2, 3, 4, you can fit it in on top of other things, you know? You can play a small creature and Galvanic Bombardment something on their side of the field and go ahead and swing with the Haste guy you just played that you've just cleared a path for. I love that Galvanic Bombardment is so cheap. That's its biggest strength in a deck like this, because it allows us to have the mana to blow away blockers and play creatures of our own, all of which I have Haste, by the way, and get in these big attacks in the early game. Harness Lightning is good not only because it's instant speed removal that can take out things like Smuggler's Copter, all of that is at least worthy of consideration, but also in this deck we're playing Lathnu Hellion, so there's times where you'll take out, you know, a 1 toughness creature and still have energy left over to power your Hellion for another turn. You know, sometimes this has happened in playtesting at least. You'll play a couple of Harness Lightnings over the course of the game, and they'll leave behind an energy or 2, and yeah, you'll use that for Lathnu Hellion all day. So Harness Lightning is not only a fine removal piece, but also has a little bit of synergy that can matter. To finish off the spells, we're going to play 4 copies of Built to Smash, and despite the fact that this doesn't have great synergy with Reckless Bushwhacker, you know, by the time you can play a Built to Smash, you can't then play a Reckless Bushwhacker for its surge cost, unless you want to do it second main phase like an idiot. But still, you know, even though this doesn't have great synergy with Bushwhacker, it's still a fantastic card. You know, Giant Growth is great. You know, 1 mana for +3/+3 is always wonderful, especially at instant speed. You know, we have to play it again during our attack step, but the fact that our opponent won't necessarily see it coming, we can do it after blocks, all of that is fantastic. We can do it at, you know, if on a creature that doesn't get blocked, we can do it on a creature that does, so we can blow out one of their guys. So lots of different reasons to play Built to Smash. So yes to Built to Smash. The card is wonderful. 23 lands in the deck, and they're all mountains, as you can see right here. I don't even know why I have to display. I can just tell you 23 mountains. Now, I was messing around with Eldrazi Obligator, and that forced me to play a bunch of colorless mana sources. It was all bunkits. There was no need for it. Just play mountains. Just play mountains. Here's the sideboard right here. This is mostly a sideboard against control decks, so we can take out this removal and side in creatures and stuff like Skin Invasion that'll be good against their removal. Insolent Neonate will help us draw some cards. Ember-Eye Wolf is in there to basically replace Bombardment or Harness Lightning, you know. But there's also other stuff, Magnetic Chasm against other aggro decks. Ruinous Gremlin against artifacts, basically, and then Hijack against other aggro decks as well. Hijack is really good. Threaten effects like this are always pretty nice out of sideboards against aggressive and especially mid-range decks, where you can take these big old creatures off their side of the battlefield. A 2-creature swing, in a way, will really affect the board in a lot of big ways and help you just win the game sometimes. So I have always liked threaten effects in mono-red sideboards. Although you could play Weaver of Lightning in here, because it's a pretty popular sideboard card against the Smuggler's Copters of the world. But I didn't find room for it. I feel like I actually like Hijack a little bit better. And here are your power rankings for the deck. A final score of 59, which is pretty good for a $20 deck. Approaching 60, that's approaching like actual competitiveness. And this deck can win the game for you, and obviously out of nowhere. You know, it's got a pretty decent resiliency stat. It's right middle of the road. As compared to a lot of these aggro decks, that's because Haste is some form of resiliency, especially after mass removal. You know, if they somehow remove your entire board, then just 1 creature can get you right back in the swing of things because you'll be swinging with it that turn. That kind of initiative is very good. And initiative is what's important to a Haste deck. You will always, especially if you go first, be swinging with the creature you played that turn and the creatures that you played on the turns previous. So that kind of initiative is very valuable, especially against decks that want to remove your guys, because then you're guaranteed to get a swing with them, at least 1 swing. Because one of the most annoying things about Magic is playing a creature and then having to wait a whole turn to use the stupid thing. Like, sometimes you get a little impatient when you just want to turn your dude sideways. So, if you're impatient and you just want to play a guy and immediately tap him for damage, yeah, this is the one for you. Every single creature in the deck has Haste. Pretty cool. Not only that, but it's composed like a, traditional aggro deck. It's got a decent curve as far as the creatures go, decent removal suite, it's got some pump in it, sort of transitional sideboard against control decks. We can take out all of our useless removal, throw in some creatures and skin invasions and stuff. So the deck has some plans and operates, traditionally at least, like a pretty good aggro deck. And we've still got powerful cards, Lathnu Hellion, Reckless Bushwhacker, all the removal is heavily played in the format right now. So try this thing out. A lot of these cards are fairly cheap. Only one card, Harness Lightning, costs more than $1, but you're still getting what appears to be a fair amount of value in this deck. And again, can just win the game out of nowhere. That is all I've got for now. Let me know how you feel about this thing down there in the comments. I actually promise you this deck will do a little bit of work for you. And again, super cheap, 20 bucks. You probably own a fair amount of these cards already, so give this thing a try. But what are we doing next time? Next time, it's time. Jund will be my next video, and it should be going up in just a couple of days. I'm not going to leave you hanging for 4 days like I did this time. Again, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, Jund next time, so get hype. I know a lot of people really want to see the Jund deck, and I think that we finally got it all hammered out. Looking like a good deck and has won a bunch of games for me. So get ready for that next time, just a couple of days. Until then, like the content. If you like the content, YouTube spiel, sub if you're new. Please do these things. And I will see you next time. I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.